had introduced. For all her complaints, Pongsunga owned similar outfits. In parts of the former capital, now styled Administrative City 14, at least the Razanei made things easy to remember, wearing native clothes wasn't safe. Easier to put on shirts and slacks, also styles imported from the West, and fit in. Jebi's only concessions to Hwagugin tradition were 2 knotted meduk charms under their shirt, one bought from a charm seller just yesterday. People had divided opinions on whether luck was like wine or flowers. That is, whether magic charms grew in power over time, or withered and had to be replaced. Jebi had split the difference by borrowing one from their sister and picking up a new one in the same style. One in red cord, one in blue, together suggesting the flow of yang and yin. They didn't wear the charms openly. Most Razanei scoffed at Hwagugin's superstition, although charms were usually reliable as far as magic went. But the red and blue specifically evoked the yin-yang teguk symbol of old Hwaguk. Besides waiting for the paint to dry, something it did rapidly on the absorbent hanji paper, they had to do one final thing before they could consider themselves done with the exam. They'd done it 3 times before. They could do it once more, even if guilt pricked at their heart. Jebi bit their lip, then dashed out a signature in Razanei script, making sure it was legible. Tesserau Tsenan. It was a Razanei name, not a Hwagugin one. Tsenan meant bud, which appealed to Jebi's sense of irony. Hwaguk meant flowerland, which either referred to the spectacular springtime displays of azaleas and forsythias and plum blossoms, or to the beauty or seductiveness of its people, depending on how bawdy you liked your poetry. Like a growing proportion of Hwagugin, Jebi was fluent in Razanei, and like a small but significant number of their people, they sometimes found it convenient to go by a Razanei name. The 2 peoples resembled each other to a strong degree, after all. Both black-haired and brown-eyed, with tawny skin, not too tall and slight of build. The Razanei administration encouraged the name changes and had set up a registry of names for 14ers, as they referred to their subjects. Jebi had lost no time in signing up, although they'd waited until their sister was at the market to get this done, because they hadn't fancied a quarrel, especially over the registration fee. Tesserau Tsenan. As the paint dried, Jebi thought wistfully that they wouldn't mind signing their own name to their paintings. But if wishes were wings, all the world would fly. In the meantime, they needed the job. They washed the brush out in the provided ceramic container, quotidian stoneware rather than the nicer white porcelain cup they used at home. The examiners did permit people to bring their own brushes. Privately, Jebi thought this was likelier to be a cost-cutting measure on the government's part than a concession to artistic quirks. The examiner at the head of the room sat with an open book, gazing imperturbably at all the examinees. Jebi stared frankly at him, wondering why he had brought the book if he wasn't going to read it. Since nobody was allowed to leave early, Jebi entertained themselves by imagining how they would draw a caricature of the man. Definitely exaggerate that unseemly beak of a nose, plus the gray hairs sprouting out of his ears. Maybe compare him to a tiger, cliché as it was. A balding white tiger, with a ferocious but comical roar. With a start, Jebi realized that the man was staring back at them, with ill-concealed hostility. Hastily, Jebi jerked their gaze away and looked down at their 4 paintings, neatly arrayed on the table before them. Surreptitiously, they checked out the competition, cataloging faults, from sloppy brushstrokes to wobbly composition. Their confidence grew. Their paintings were clearly among the best. By the time the gong rang from outside, signaling an end to the examination, Jebi's head was throbbing. They had eaten only a light breakfast of rice porridge with a few shreds of chicken in the morning. They couldn't wait to get some food into themselves.
Please leave your paintings in place and exit the room single file.